Talk here, and today we're going to be doing and looking at Joe Biden's best case scenario. So recently I haven't done too many best case scenarios because I've been focusing on other things on my channel, but now I think we have to go and analyze this best case scenario. So technically speaking, we were riding on a wave where Joe Biden was getting pretty close to his old best case scenario, but does that mean that he's going to expand into a new best case scenario and maybe grow the electoral count? Or does that mean that he will just go down from there? So, honestly, if you're asking me about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we would have been talking about how Joe Biden was surging in the polls in like surmountable amounts, pretty much post George Floyd protests. That is what truly changed the Biden campaign and moved it on the right direction. Not that before that they were like doing pretty bad or anything, but it's just that before the George Floyd protests, they didn't have as big of a margin of victory, so the race would have been contested. So now that we have all these different things, and that the Trump campaign is pretty much in ruins, like after many of his political gaffes over the last couple of days, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And I mean, Donald Trump, nothing is helping him at this point. Like every tweet that he sends out gets, I don't know, some big, bad press, and all these different things are really hurting his campaign. And honestly, he should be looking at ways to get away from the tweets and move to other ways of talking. Now, the only thing that might not help Joe Biden at this point is simply the fact that he's just a terrible speaker. No offense to people that like Joe Biden, but he is a very bad speaker, public speaker, and he has too many gaffes where he's talking. And when he's giving a speech, he says something that's like completely like, what are you saying? And those types of moments also are not very good with the voters. But at this point in time, he's doing very well and he's fair off. So this is going to be our starting map, I guess, for a best case scenario. But I'm going to add some states that could possibly go by safe margins if Joe Biden does amazing. At this point, I can see the state of Virginia just be added to the column. Look, the state of Virginia is it's looking very good for Democrats. One, Republicans in down ballot races, which are sometimes the true factors in influencing people, because that's the person that the normal day-to-day people that are not interested in politics see in those states. Yeah, they see the president, they see Joe Biden, but the people that they're voting for Congress are important. And in Virginia, it's mostly very good Democrats running for Congress, and that really just helps Joe Biden additionally, because that's more press for the Democrats, more yard signs, those type of campaign things. And at this point, they're looking like they're going to win the state of Virginia by anywhere from around 5 to 10 points. And if we're pushing it to a best case scenario, a state like Virginia might be well off in the 15-point margin. Is there a way we can measure this? No, because we don't know how to measure a best case scenario. But we can kind of think about it. And I think a state of Virginia, which they really like very establishment Democrats or Republicans, they really like establishment. And that's honestly why I think Joe Biden has a good chance of winning here. Now that we have that state, that's pretty kind of considered in the best case scenario, let's move on to our Republican likely, or let's do Democrats likely states. So at this point in time, states like Colorado, Nevada, Colorado, Nevada, I think at this point also states like, probably Minnesota, Michigan at this point, and I think states like New Hampshire. These are all states that are looking pretty solid for the Democrats. Best case scenario or not, it's looking very good for the Democrats in these states. And these states, they're going to be won by around anywhere from 5 to 15 points, which really gives Joe Biden a great chance of going through and winning these states. Considering that he has high amounts of momentum in these different places, we could probably tell that he could easily just push it over and win by, 10%, 15% in some of these places. Now, are there some states that could be added, but I'm skeptical of it? Yeah, states like Arizona, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Although some of these states are close or could be considered in the likely margin as of right now, I would personally say hold off on some of these states because there's more to talk about. So, those are our likely Democratic states for a best case scenario for Joe Biden. Now let's go to the likely states for Trump in a best case scenario for Joe Biden. So I added states like Mississippi and South Carolina. And these states, honestly, they could get a little close and whatever, but there's no way it's going to be way more contested than this. And while we're at it, we could actually just consider a state like Missouri as well going in the likely margin in a best case scenario. just because of the fact that there's a lot of African Americans in that state, and there's a lot of minorities. If you remember, in 2008, Barack Obama narrowly lost the state of Missouri. But nonetheless, we can see that there is very good support for Democrats down south. I mean, is it going to be winning like every single race? No. But still, it's a big amount of support compared to like past elections. Mississippi, South Carolina, looking like they might do some good stuff for the Democrats on the House side, but when it comes to president, not looking so good. So those are all our likely states. Let's go on to our lean states. So in the best case scenario for Joe Biden, I can see states like Arizona, states like Wisconsin, states like Pennsylvania, states like North Carolina, states like Florida at this point. All these states going by lean margins. So, and I think we could also say Nebraska's second congressional district. So these states are a little different to the rest, because the rest are more Republican, quote-unquote, states. And these states are very interesting. States like Arizona, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, in the best case scenario for Joe Biden, would probably go from anywhere from 3 to 5 points. Whereas states like Florida and North Carolina could go more in the 1 to 3 point range, which still is a big margin of victory considering how close these states have been historically and how close they can even get in the polls. So right now, Arizona's looking pretty much safe bet for Biden. Maybe once you get closer to election day, it might get a little closer. Nonetheless, it's going to be a state that's going to be contested somewhat. But Joe Biden has a very good chance of winning. And I mean, the Rust Belt is kind of an area that a lot of people think it's safe Democratic. But in reality, I mean, it's not as safe as people may think. Remember, in a lot of the House races in 2018, although it was a big Democratic wave in areas like the suburbs, like in Florida, in Virginia, in areas of California, in some states, in a district in Oklahoma, yeah, those districts flipped. But a lot of districts in the Rust Belt flipped to the Republicans. So that is one thing that must be noticed. Yeah, the Democratic Party has been gaining a lot of support in other areas, but the Rust Belt, they've really been losing support. And yeah, they might be gaining some support back, but still, when it comes to down ballot races, it might be a different story. But state of Wisconsin and Pennsylvania are two very sort of like, they're very moderate states. And it might have been that they just wanted a political outsider, and who knows, maybe since the economy is doing pretty well, I guess. It was doing amazing pre-COVID, but like after COVID, I mean, we can't really tell how it's going to fare out. But these states are going to be voting for the Democrats, and I think in the best case scenario. Now, as we go on, let's look for lean Republican states in the best case scenario for Biden. I think in the best case scenario for Joe Biden, states like Texas, I think would be the only state to go lean to to Republican Party. At this point, I think this because, look, the state of Texas is not going to a Democrat this year. It would be like a miracle, and it would be if Beto O'Rourke lost the state of Texas and he put 100% of himself campaigning and going throughout the state and touring all these single counties of Texas, which there are a lot. I mean, it's pretty hard for a candidate that's touring nationwide. He's running a nationwide campaign to win the state of Texas. In the best case scenario for Joe Biden, he could get it down from anywhere from 2 to 5 points. But still, in best case scenario, probably could not happen. I mean, it would be like extraordinary. Like, it would have to be something where like Donald Trump does something horrendous that like takes away like 95% of his support, and then like Joe Biden wins by like a big landslide. Other than that, there's not any more lean states for this race. But now let's go to our tilt states. In the best case scenario, I feel states like Maine's second congressional district, and maybe Ohio, and Iowa maybe as well. These states would go to Joe Biden in the best case scenario not by safe margins, what am I talking about? By tilt margins, and I think we could actually include the state of Georgia. The state of Georgia, all these different states, yeah, they have very conservative bases, but also there's a lot of these states, for the majority, they're very big moderates, especially when you look at the white working class. They're moderate. If they just look for whoever is offering the best policies. And look, remember this election is not going to be close if things continue to go as they are, because look, unpopularity is a very big factor in an election. If both candidates are somewhat popular, I mean, they're both the same type of popular, like the same level, that's when voter issues are going to start to matter. 2016 was sort of an example of that. Hillary Clinton might have been a little bit more unpopular than Trump back then, but still, who knows? But now, also, you have to remember, some of the Rust Belt states are voting off economy, and that might really fare off good for the Republican Party, but we still don't know. And in the South, honestly, Democrats are having very good movements there with House races and all these different things, the Senate race. Sorry. And that is really going to help Democrats down in the South. So, at the end of the day, I think best case scenario for Joe Biden, as of today, I think it's July 6th, Republicans are at 163 and Democrats at 375. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please give it a huge thumbs up, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications to get notified when I post my next video. And guys, please subscribe if you're not yet. So we're almost at 200 subscribers. Once we hit 200 subscribers, we're going to do an interesting interactive content where I might do a Q&A session, or maybe do another subscriber decided election night, or some new type of series where you guys can run for like offices, and we could do fake offices or like mock government. You guys are going to choose when I put up a form soon, but I hope you guys enjoy the video, and goodbye.